Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. So there's Jeffrey Epstein news, which most of you guys already know. Today is Tuesday, the something of, I don't even know where my fucking phone is. Here it is. It is I think it's the 10th. It's the 9th. Pretty close. Pretty freaking close. Okay. So, they released the photo. Here, let's watch here.
He just received files from the estate of Jeffrey Epstein. A Democratic spokesperson says committee Democrats are reviewing hundreds of documents handed over to the committee, and they have just released that body drawing allegedly drawn by President Trump for Epstein's 50th birthday. Here.
All right, so I want to reread the conversation. Not now. Let's go through these reports. But remember, he posted this weird conversation. It's kind of a weird drawing. And so the biggest part of it's right here, right? This is the major part right here where he draws his name as the pubic hair. That's where the energy is. That's where, Donald J. Trump likes to grab him. Where he can just walk up to grab any woman. He's putting his name right there. It's like that's his right, because as a celebrity, that's what you get to do. Fortunately or unfortunately, as he said, it's the case that, women have to submit to his tiny little hands going for the hair. They're going for the Donald here, because, he just gets to, because he's famous, and he was kind of almost a billionaire, kind of a fake billionaire. And there they are, the pals. And so, you know what Trump is going to say. And he's going to say, because he's already suing the Wall Street Journal for this thing, but it's kind of incriminating. Yeah, like you can fake anything. You could just make this. It's not like it's, but whatever it is here. Like he did this thing, and it shows a closeness to Jeffrey Epstein that would indicate that they were really good friends. And so all of these things, like they already were good friends. He said he was a terrific guy and he liked young girls. I mean, Trump has already incriminated himself, and
It is. The Wall Street Journal was first to report on it a few months ago, and today we're getting a first look at it. Joining us now, staff writer for The Atlantic and MSNBC political contributor Mark Leibovich, the Bulwark senior reporter Will Sommer, host
okay,
of
I don't care what these motherfuckers have to say. They look like a dour panel, but I got more of this. We got more reaction because they're having a ghoulgasm over there at the frickin' MSNBC. First, this.
Speaker Johnson, are you at all concerned about the birthday message that President Trump apparently sent to or left for Jeffrey Epstein?
I've been a little busy today. I haven't dialed in on that. I'm told.
Okay, you're saying you're a little busy for the most important story of the year. You're a little busy for this major bombshell to this Jeffrey Epstein thing that's strangling Trump's ability to do his fucking job, right? I mean, just crushing him among his base and all these other things, right? You're a little fucking busy. You're busy? Are you saying you're fucking busy? You just say you're fucking busy? I'm a little busy for this. I didn't even hear of this. I mean, of course you fucking heard of it. Like, breaking news, your staff took to you immediately. You already know about it. You don't know how to comment on it because you don't know what to fucking say, right? Because it's weird as fuck. And you guys are trying to come up with a fucking plan, which involves somehow blaming the fucking Democrats for this witch hunt that's going on. When Trump wrote this thing, this is, whether this would be, it's not fake. I don't think it's fake. But if it was fake, he's fucked. He's fucked if it's real or he's fucked if it's fake. It doesn't matter what it is. Because it's weird and it ties him with Jeffrey Epstein and the thing's getting weirder. And he keeps on doing stupid shit. I'll show you another little clip here in a second. And then we'll go back to the reaction from these MSNBC ghouls who get to react like this because Trump's so fucked, right? It's such a weird fucking thing. And then all these people, they're trying to figure out what to do about it.
That it's fake. So.
What? We say it's fake?
They haven't dialed in on that. I'm told that it's fake. So.
You're told that it's fake. Trump's saying it's fake. They faked it. Jeffrey Epstein people put it together, and then the Democrats faked it. They just made this up. They just drew it. This is a total fake thing. It's not real at all. It's a weird thing to fake, and it's really hard to believe the Democrats, who are the least creative group of people, the Democrats, because this was run by the Wall Street Journal, who are pro-Trump. Like, that's Rupert Murdoch, right? It's part of Fox News, and so they're the ones who published it. But it's a weird thing to come up with, like the whole thing. It's almost got to be real because no one would think up something like this. Now, you can fake anything. We live in a time where you can fake anything. The Democrats have showed the least creativity of any group of people in the history of the world. Like, they just, their whole message is, I don't know, at least we're not Trump. They've shown no creativity even with their stuff with Trump, right? Even the stuff they have made up. It's just all goofy stuff. Like, it's just like fluff. And this thing is, complex and weird and, intimate, the relationship with him and Jeffrey Epstein and him signing his name where his pubic hair, like, fucking weird. And, it's beyond the Democrats' ability to create something like that. And so, of course, it could be fake, but it's not. I mean, not in this sphere, because just all of the way the thing got released, the way that, the Wall Street Journal published, they saw it, or whatever, they had, an image of it, and Trump decides to sue him, and now he's going to say it's fake because that's what Trump does. So those of us as viewers and creators have, early on, when people were more thoughtful and the truth community was more, it just wasn't full of dummies, we created a narrative in which we could expose mainstream media, mainstream politicians, and corporations for lying. And we were able to use the internet to do it. It was fairly easy. And then we had all these dopes come in, like the QBs and now the Trumpers and various people, the woke people, who wreck it, right? Who are talking about, I got a bunch of stuff with Don Lemons that's hilarious. They're trying to be, whatever they are, we're not legacy media, right, when they say that shit. We're not legacy media. And, all these people have come in and wrecked it because they're stupid. And they've taken something that was not stupid and turned into something that was stupid. And now they use it for everything. And when they get caught with something, they just say, oh, that's fake news. And so it's, but this is real news. And Trump owns this thing. And, he's got his dopey supporters that are never going to leave him because they're WWE'd and they want to believe in him no matter what. Even though he's their worst nightmare, and they don't even understand that. But to call it fake is silly, because no one's going to believe that shit.
Thank you all. Thank you.
I know what you were getting at.
No,
though.
I want to know if you saw the birthday book, and they should give you.
No, I haven't. I haven't seen it yet. But as soon as I look at it, I'll let you know what I think about it. I always do. But we need to ask the right questions. Like, I want to be able to give these women a platform to be able to identify who abused them, who raped them, who were the predators, who trafficked them. But I don't want them to get sued either for coming forward. I mean, I just lived that nightmare, and I don't want that. I'm living that nightmare with a couple of Jane Does. But I want to make sure that we're protecting these women, because it can't just be one person goes to jail when over 1,000 women were trafficked. Who held the door? Who drove the cars? Who opened the door? Who flew the planes? Who serviced? Who provided food? Some people, lots of people saw a lot of things.
Who wrote the birthday message, the weird birthday message? This FBI informant, Donald Trump. He had to do it. He had to show like he was in with Jeffrey Epstein with these weird shit that he did, because he was an informant for the FBI. When this guy, that fucking asshole, that Mike Johnson, he's so sleazy, said Trump was an FBI informant. Trump hates the FBI. Like, Trump and the FBI are like this whole, they have an adversarial relationship, right? And Trump was always, he was violating regulations and doing illegal shit as a billionaire, a fake billionaire. And so, of course he wasn't like going to he's just silly, like rat his good buddy Jeffrey Epstein out.
And we've got to get to the bottom of it. No, I don't believe that it's a hoax. I do believe that there are Democrats. I do believe that there are people on the left that are trying to make it something about Trump that it's not. And I think that's what he's talking about when he talks about hoax. But I've not.
It's totally about him. Shut the fuck up. It's about him. He represents everything you're talking about. He was complicit. If you're going after the people who served food, then you should go after Trump. And you know what you didn't. It's the first thing that everybody saw, right? I'm sure. Like I got so many messages from people. I didn't get to my comments for like 5 days, which was weird. I have no idea why. It doesn't take me that long to go through the comments, especially on a daily basis. It takes me about 10, 20 minutes. I don't know. But last night, I'm like, I'm like 5 days. I'm just fucking looking at the comments in 5 days. And just, whatever. A lot of comments about, I'll get into that later. It's about the hype button. Like, people don't have the hype button. But I'll get into that later. Hopefully I'll remember. But that's the first thing their aides are going to show them, because this is a political bombshell. She knows about it.
Talked to him personally about this at all. But I just know that as a survivor, I want to protect all survivors. And I want to give these girls, these women who've been fighting for justice for 30 years and still don't have it, I want to give them every ounce of a platform that we can up here in Congress to get the...
Your reaction to this Epstein estate documents that were released to the House Oversight Committee, specifically the president's letter that he sent apparently to Epstein, that is part of these documents.
That's the first I've heard about it. Honestly.
Well, it's just a first. It's funny when they get told by news people. That's the best. When your whole staff doesn't tell you some bombshell thing so you can prepare for it, and your first news about something that's going to hang over the Republicans' head comes from fucking the news people. When Trump asks questions, oh, tell me about that. Oh, I don't know about that. Tell me about that. That's their whole MO now. That they don't know shit until the reporters tell them about it. And Trump is leading the way with that bullshit, right? Well, I don't know about. Well, I got to find out about it. You're just telling me I got to go, and I don't know. I'm the last to know things like this. It's not like I'm the fucking president, or I'm a congressman, or I'm the leader of the House. Like fucking.
This is a letter. Do you want to look at it?
Is that the one he said didn't exist?
Yeah, he said it didn't exist, and
That's
is
a
it?
signature.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, anybody can do a signature. We've seen the auto pen's been used quite a bit.
Yeah, you don't know. I didn't know about it, but if it is, it's fake.
With the Biden administration, so I've never known Trump to be much of an artist either. So I kind of draw that into question.
Yeah, exactly. He's not an artist. It's fucking artwork that a fucking child could do. I don't know. A lot of artists. He just drew buildings. Those were lines. This is curves. You can't draw curves. You can draw some lines and shit, but I don't know about the curves. All right, let's go to something with Marjorie Taylor Greene, then we'll come back to this. So this is an important piece to this. So Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's been a dope, but to her credit, she is on the Steve Bannon show saying this.
What? 6 months in, Steve, and here we are turning back on the campaign promises, and we bombed Iran on behalf of Israel. Yes, it was on behalf of Israel. We're entering a nuclear war, the World War III, because the entire world is going to erupt. And you want to know the people that are cheering it on right now? Their tune is going to drastically change the minute we start seeing flag draped coffins on the nightly news, on Fox News that brainwashes all the baby boomers, and on CNN that brainwashes all the Democrat baby boomers. And that is exactly how this is going to go down.
So their new player makes it difficult to go back to the beginning. I don't know if you can see, I'm going to make this bigger, but as soon as I go back to the beginning, it disappears. Oh, here it is. Good, I got it. All right, that's fucking hard, though. But anyways, Marjorie Taylor Greene said in a more dopey way, a less sophisticated way, a less truther way, less not, whatever. But she said a similar thing to what she said, talking about the platform and Trump letting down the Republicans. But what I was saying yesterday is, the overwhelming truth people that push Trump over the top, the people that are truthers on one level or another. Some of them aren't Trumpers, but they picked Trump because they figured he was better than the Democrats, and then there's all the Trump truthers and the right-wing QBs and the dopes, right? And we have all those people have a nightmare scenario, which I talked about, the Alex Jones type people of a new world order and government control and martial law. And Trump has brought all that shit in. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene didn't say anything about martial law, but just in general, that Trump doesn't give a shit about his promises. And she didn't mention Trump by name, but it is Trump. because he doesn't. Trump will say anything to get what he wants, and then he throws you away, right? I mean, he does that in life. Like, that's what Trump's thing is. That's his MO. That's what Trump do. That's what Trump do. And so these guys are all having, I didn't watch any of these things we're going to show you, but they're all very happy about what's up here. I still can't get this all the way back to the beginning. Here we go.
And it is day 232 of the second Trump administration. Today, House Democrats released an image of the birthday message Donald Trump allegedly sent to sex offender Jeffrey Epstein back in 2003. It shows the outline of a naked woman with the text of an imagined conversation between Trump and Epstein where they have agreed they have certain things in common. Then Trump says, enigmas never age. Have you noticed that? Trump's alleged signature is at the bottom, in between the woman's hips. The letter was part of the documents the House Oversight Committee subpoenaed from Epstein's estate and publicly apologized to the journalist.
Okay, so this just says, keeps on saying it gets worse and worse. But all the Republicans are trying to claim it's fake. Like, that's how fucking bad it is. And you know who they're lying to? They're lying to their supporters. Because no one else believes that shit, right? The only people that believe this is Trumpers. The only people who would imagine this is fake are Trumpers, because everyone else knows Trump and Epstein was good personal friends, and that this is, that he's going to lose a lot of the people in the alternative media and these other people who are going to bail, and a lot of truthers who fucking didn't have the integrity or the common sense to call out. One of my commenters says that he thought, or she thought, I don't know, whatever the comment was from, but one of the commenters said that they also saw this was fake, the fake assassination attempt, because lots of people did, but I was one of the few people to say it because all these fucking, fake truthers that are out there refuse to see what's right in front of their fucking faces for whatever reason. They just couldn't do it because it was Trump. Because I said if it was Biden, everyone would have said it was fake. So it's just it's so obvious. But anyways, let's go to these other people. Let's see if I can find. Let me look at. Let's read the text here. So he writes voiceover. There must be more to life than having everything, Donald. Yes, there is, but I won't tell you what it is, nor will I, Jeffrey, nor will I, since I also know what it is. It's so fucking childish. It sounds something stupid that Trump would write. And so, and also it's, this is typed. They typed this in the whole thing is typed here. Nor will I, Jeffrey, nor will I, since I also know what it is. Donald, we have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, yes, we do. Come to think of it, Donald. Enigmas never age. Have you noticed that? Jeffrey, as a matter of fact, it is clear to me the last time I saw you. Donald, a pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret. Donald J. Trump, right in the pubic region. This was a book that was compiled by the Ghislaine Maxwell, who lied and said that this is memorable. She said, I don't remember Trump giving him a letter. And it was a time when Trump and Epstein were really good friends. It was sort of at the height of their time together, right? So, everything about this makes it look real as fuck. That's his signature. This is a whole thing, right? It's, where was it faked? So there was this birthday book that they had that the Jeffrey Epstein people, the people in charge of his estate have in his possession. And they said they would turn it over to the powers that be. And in this book, there's all these famous people who, maybe write embarrassing things. But this conversation, certain things we have in common, Trump already said in this other thing here. So Jeffrey Epstein turned 50 in 2003. And a year earlier, there was a piece done about him, a man of mystery, a money man of mystery. And it showed him and Bill Clinton get on the Lolita Express to go do charity work in Africa. And there was other people like Kevin Spacey and these other famous people. And then Trump said this, I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. Trump booms from a speakerphone. He's a lot of fun to be with. It's even said he likes beautiful women as much as I do. Okay, so that's what they have in common. This was his quote for the article. Like, this is his only quote, right? He says he's a terrific guy, and they both love beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side, which would be, minors. I mean, that's, Trump is pursuing young girls himself, so that was minors. No doubt about it, Jeffrey enjoys his social life, his social life was abusing young girls, which Trump knew about. And so Trump said this in 2002, and then he wrote that picture in 2003, and they're talking about the things that they have in common, right? The things that, this idea of them being an enigma is silly, because it's pretty obvious what they are. This is not some puzzle, but they have something in common, which is they both like beautiful women on the younger side. That's their whole deal. So, Trump is fucked. I mean, he's been fucked for a while, but I mean, not really, because he's not going to, I mean, I don't know what he does different, because he just doesn't give a shit, right? And so let me show this other video, and then we'll get back to these MSNBC people. Okay, so I did most of this. Most of the things you're about to see, I did before 10 o'clock this morning. And now it's 4:20 in the afternoon. And, Trump and this team, of course, in which you'll see here, they're all of these Republicans are going to say it's fake, because that's how, that's what they can do. But Trump himself was asked about this, and he said it's a dead issue and refused to comment on any more than that, which I'll cover tomorrow, which will be Thursday for you guys. This stuff will be trickling out for the rest of the day. And he referred everybody to his team, his team of the fake Christian Barbie truther and the rest of his people, the Republicans, to defend him here. But he didn't want to say anything more than it's a dead issue, which is not a dead issue. Now, I just saw on MSNBC, they were talking about that 81% of people think, according to one poll, Trump has hiding something when it comes to Epstein. So that's an overwhelming majority, and he should be impeached if that's the case, because, if he was complicit and knew about it, he should be impeached. He's now blocking the justice system from pursuing this thing. And if he partook, then he definitely should be impeached. So, whatever they think he's hiding, it's got to be something bad, because it's Jeffrey fucking Epstein, right? It's not like he's hiding something that, isn't something that he would lose all credibility as a person. I mean, in earlier years, just the evidence so far, he would have to quit his job. He would be forced to resign. Everything that we know thus far, but things are so degraded now. Now, I'm not sure about this story. Again, I'll look into this tomorrow, but there was something to do with Trump possibly buying a girl from Jeffrey Epstein, some evidence that is being leaked now. So that'll probably be more substantiated by tomorrow. But the fact that Trump said that there's nothing to see here, that it's a dead story, that in itself, I mean, it's clearly not a dead story. Like, it's more alive today than ever. And this thing is really bad for him. But he also said he's vigorously going to pursue his lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal. But, the photo has been substantiated here. And they can say it's a fake photo and that he didn't sign it, and that's what they're saying. They're comparing his signatures. We'll get into all that tomorrow. But he has to drop his lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal, because they are talking about a letter that was in the possession of the Epstein estate, that was in a book that featured all kinds of people that were, couple of presidents and other famous people, right? And so the Wall Street Journal, there is a letter, and they had, they got a copy of the letter, and that letter's, it's a real letter, whether it was forged and faked or put in there, and Trump had nothing to do with it, which again is almost, it's just not true. But if it was true, it would be a small chance, percentage point, that that's true. But the Wall Street Journal, they're not responsible for what's in the Epstein book. They're just reporting on what's in it, right? And they said there's something that appears to be from Trump, and so he can't sue him. Like, he's fucked, right? In terms of that lawsuit. Plus, it's probably his letter anyway. I mean, regardless of whether it's his letter or not, it could be his letter because they were best buddies. So you understand this. In 2002, they were writing this fluff piece about this international man of mystery. It was a positive piece in one of these sort of elitist papers. And they got quotes from Bill Clinton, Trump, Kevin Spacey, a number of other celebrities, and people who wanted to say something nice about Jeffrey Epstein, right? So a year later, Ghislaine Maxwell, who was good friends with Trump and who Trump respected and wished well, and just got, she just transferred her from a shitty prison to a camp prison to an even more camp prison, right? A federal prison, one of these country club-like prisons. And so she asked him for a letter that she can put in a birthday book that she's going to give to Jeffrey Epstein because the guy's a billionaire, so, what are you going to get him? So she asked all these important people because Jeffrey Epstein likes important people. And, of course, Trump would be one of those people she would ask. So Trump already did it a year earlier, and the book is full of famous people that are all writing, some sort of letter or notes to Jeffrey Epstein, wishing him a happy birthday. And this is what Trump wrote, right? Trump did something. They were still buddies then. They were good buddies. So, they were like best buddies. I mean, Trump's ex-assistant said Trump and him were besties. So, of course, this is his letter, right? According to if you look at everything else in the official story, this makes the most sense. And now he's fucked with it, right? And there's more shit coming out. And the more that comes out, he's already made himself look so fucking guilty. He's pissed off his base. And 80% of the people think he's covering something up and that he has something to hide personally. Which, when you're hiding something that has to do with Jeffrey Epstein, is pretty fucking bad, right? Anyways, let's get on to the next thing here.
And to be clear, the only motive for opposing this bill would be to conceal wrongdoing. You have a choice. Stand with the truth or with the lies that have protected predators for decades.
This is a Democrat hoax that never ends.
My name is Marina Lacerda. I was minor victim 1 in federal indictment of Jeffrey Epstein in New York in 2019. I was one of dozens of girls that I personally know who were forced into Jeffrey's mansion on 9 East 71 Street in New York City when we were just kids. Today is the first time that I ever speak publicly about what happened to me. I never thought that I would find myself here. The only reason that I am here is because it feels like the people who matter in this country finally care about what we have to say. As an immigrant from Brazil, I feel empowered knowing that the little girl struggling to get by at 14 and 15 years old finally has a voice. For the first time, I feel like I matter as an American. I was only 14 years old when I met Jeffrey. It was the summer of high school. I was working 3 jobs to try to support my mom and my sister when a friend of mine in the neighborhood told me that I could make $300 to give an older guy a massage. It went from a dream job.
Wait, how is that a dream job? I mean, I'm not trying to mock victims, but how the fuck is giving an older guy a massage a dream job for a 14-year-old girl? I mean, shoot for the stars. It was a dream job. I mean, giving older guys massages, like, what the fuck? I mean, again,
dollars to give an older guy a massage. It went from a dream job to the worst nightmare. My therapist says that my brain is just trying to protect itself, but it's so hard to begin to heal knowing.
Yeah, I would fire your therapist. My brain is just trying to protect myself. It's just, come on, that's stupid shit. You repress things for, whatever, survival.
That there are people out there who know more about my abuse than I do. They have documents with my name on them that were confiscated from Jeffrey Epstein's house and could help me put the pieces of my own life back together. But I don't have any of it. And I know the same is true for many of these women.
I am no longer weak. I am no longer powerless. And I'm no longer alone. And with your vote, neither will the next generation be. President Trump, you have so much influence and power in this situation. Please use that influence and power to help us, because we need it now and this country needs it now.
Thousands of pages of documents have been given, but it's really a Democrat hoax because they're trying to get people to talk about something that's totally irrelevant to the success that we've had as a nation since I've been president. And I know that no matter what you do, it's going to keep going. And I think it's enough.
All right. So that's Trump, just the narcissism of the fucking guy, right? I mean, he's just a piece of shit. Like fucking, not getting the whole idea, but he was, he's complicit. Him and Jeffrey Epstein were good friends for 20 fucking years. They had one thing in common, which he talked about, which is they both like younger girls. And that was their big thing. And they were, they were what they were called like playboys, right? I got an old video I've had up for a couple days about an old report that MSNBC had, and they called him a modern day Hugh Hefner. This guy, right? Hugh Hefner was like a Jeffrey Epstein, like very similar. He had all these young women, and people like Bill Cosby and famous people would go to his house to abuse them, and whatever. He was like a pimp. And so Jeffrey Epstein was a little bit, more seedy, and involves Mossad, right, which is its other piece, because Marjorie Taylor Greene said we went on war. We went to war on behalf of Israel. Like people are starting to get that, understand the toxic relationship with Israel. And Jeffrey Epstein was a part of that too, in that whole intelligence community and the cover-up. And so, like the truth is people are never going to be satisfied with the results. But the truth's there for everyone to see. That there are people who get money and power, and they think that they own other people, and they have privileges that other people don't have, and some of that's abusing people, often kids, and having these like eyes wide shut, deviant, parties because they're rich and powerful and bored, and they don't have the problems that other people have, and they get into deviant shit. It's unfortunate that when people get money and power, this is what they do. And it's not everybody, but it's almost everybody. Like it's just, people want money and power, and then you turn into a fucking demon. And that's what happens, and you do demonic shit. And that's like, 100%. Like that's over the course of humanity. If you've studied human history, you can just study human history now, but you can study it throughout human history, and you understand what kings and queens and, powerful, popes and, all these people like priests, people get these powerful positions, influence, whatever it is, powers, where they have privileges, and they misuse these privileges and abuse people. It happens 100% of the time. It's just, even if you don't go full demon, you get worse, right? You get worse. Money and power makes you worse. Look at this dude. Yeah.
No criminal, certainly no one convicted in conjunction with a horrific crime like child sex abuse, no criminal should be given a reward for doing interviews about their crimes, right? It's instinctively repulsive to us as Americans. But of course, that is what Donald Trump's Justice Department appears to have just done in the case of Ghislaine Maxwell, who was convicted of crimes related.
Let's move forward here.
And now today we get this, which President Trump said did not exist. Donald Trump, in fact, sued the Wall Street Journal when they reported this summer that Trump had signed a birthday book for Jeffrey Epstein with some sort of a crude doodle of a naked woman and an enigmatic note from Trump to Epstein that seemed to suggest some kind of shared secret between them. Trump denied he had done any such thing and brought a big splashy lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal for publishing the claim that he had done such a thing, that such a letter with a doodle on it like that did exist. Well, now today, in response to a congressional subpoena,
yeah, we got that thing. All right. Let's just, her thing here is, she's going through the lines here. Right here. They're going to talk about the signature.
Certain things that the two men have in common? Yeah, okay. The White House today...
Okay, so let's go to the hammer guy. Okay, both Rachel Maddow and the Hammer guy are making this about his signature.
Donald Trump remains silent. Donald Trump is silent about the worst thing that happened to him today. The House Oversight Committee, following a lead that Congressman Ro Khanna, who will join us tonight, picked up from a guest on this program, attorney Bradley Edwards, obtained through a subpoena to the Epstein estate the 50th birthday book of sex trafficker and child rapist and friend of Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein. When the Wall Street Journal first reported the existence of the birthday book on July 17th, Donald Trump sued the Wall Street Journal and included in the official pleadings of his lawsuit what we tonight know were lies. Donald Trump said that the birthday letter to Jeffrey...
Okay, we don't know they're lies. Like, it could be fake, but, it's not, but it could be.
Jeffrey Epstein bearing his signature did not exist. His lawsuit called it, quote, the non-existent letter. Lawyers are not supposed to put lies in writing in legal pleadings, and good lawyers never do. By now, the world knows that the letter that Donald Trump, in effect, swore under oath in his lawsuit does not exist, not only exists, but it's now been seen around the world, and it appears exactly the way the Wall Street Journal first described in the very first news report about the letter, which did not include at the time in the Journal actually showing a copy of the letter. Here is the letter, which the Wall Street Journal described this way.
Okay, so you got he's got something about the signature here.
Look like Donald Trump's signature. Donald Trump has not yet denied that it is his signature, but it became the official White House position today that that is not Donald Trump's signature. The Vice President of the United States used profanity back in July when attacking the Wall Street Journal and demanding on social media at the time an answer to the urgent question, where is the letter?
Utter bullshit.
Today, when the letter was produced, the Vice President's response in writing was, no one is falling for this BS.
It's just so bad. The Democrats don't care about Epstein. They don't even care about his victims. That's why they're silent about it for years. The only thing that they care about is concocting another fake scandal like Russiagate to smear President Trump with lies. It's offensive, and I'm not offended, but it's offensive to all of us in the truth community that these motherfuckers are coming in and using what we created, which was doubt in the mainstream story. We created real doubt in the lies of the mainstream story, and they have taken advantage of that and used it to cover up their crimes and their misdeeds. And so they fucked us. So, fuck you guys, all those Trumpers and all those people that went along with this and are complicit with this bullshit, because you guys have wrecked something that was, it wasn't great, but it was much better than it is now. And all the truthers that went along with the bullshit fucking fake assassination attempt and all that shit. Like they're not worthy to be listened to, because that was a moment of truth when you had to, say something that was so obvious, so WWE. And to go along with that, then you're not really a truth seeker. Either you knew it and you didn't want to say it, or you just were fucking oblivious because you had Trump blinders on. Whatever the case is. So this guy is, here it is.
Well, okay, Mr. Vice President, but you could have at least acknowledged that your eager question where...
Somewhere this guy says that Lawrence Taylor shares a note Trump sent to him comparing the signature. So here it is.
Birthday book, but the White House social media post says it is not his signature. So the strategy there is to show Trump support. Sent me this. This is we made a copy, but I sent this, put it back in the envelope it came in, and sent it back to Donald Trump. Donald Trump's note to me appears in the memo section of the check. And there is the signature to the note, which is just that word Donald. Just Donald, that very friendly signature. And then,
okay, so anybody could, with the modern day technology, you can copy and make fucking, whatever. Nothing is real anymore because anything can be faked. It just doesn't make sense that this is faked. But even if it was fake, Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were pals. It's not fake. but Jeffrey Epstein and Trump are pals, and everything that Trump is doing shows that he's worried that there's some information about him. You know, he's exposed here with Jeffrey Epstein. He did some shit, and he knew some shit, and he, you know, everything that would make him appear to be like now a heel to his dopes that follow him. So he's worried that the truth's going to come out that he's a fucking predatory piece of shit, right? Because let me show you this video here first. Okay, before I was going to lead with whatever videos I just led with, before the story broke about the drawing, I was going to lead with this. And it's very, you know, well, here.
But upon taking office, I also ended the weaponization of law enforcement against religious believers and pardoned the pro-life activists thrown in jail by Joe Biden for saying.
Woo! Woo! Woo!
And you know, people don't realize about the Biden administration. It was a very mean administration. He's a mean guy, actually. Not a smart guy, never was, but he was a mean guy. No, he was a mean guy. And he knew enough about what was going on. He wasn't like some of the people that surrounded him on the Resolute, the beautiful Resolute desk in the Oval Office. They were stone cold mean. But Joe Biden and the Biden, they were mean people. What they did to people, what they did to J6, what they did to so many people, they were mean people. These were really radical, horrible people. And he wasn't that way 20 years ago. He was never the brightest bulb in the ceiling, but he was. He was a man who wasn't overly mean that I saw, but boy, he became really mean, and his administration was one of the meanest we've ever had, and that's why they're out of here. And people, they're having a hard time getting jobs, and that's the way it should be because they were bad.
All right. So here's the thing about that. You know, what Israel has done to the Palestinian people is mean, right? It's evil. And what Joe Biden did to pro-lifers and January 6 people is what Trump's doing to so many different people. You know, illegal immigrants are pure legally, so sure. But some of the stuff that he's saying and doing, the martial law stuff, some of the way he's treating all these people, you know, all these people have to kiss his ass and all this stuff. And, you know, Trump is a mean person. He does mean shit. You know, I'm not saying Joe Biden isn't mean, but Trump is. You know, the Israel thing is, when I just went to eat breakfast, and Israel has bombed in Qatar what they're calling Hamas leadership. So they've bombed another country, and like that, you know, and I guess I'll be covering that tomorrow. Of course, this letter thing with Trump is going to eclipse that, which is interesting. But, you know, they, you know, Trump is backing things that are horrific, war crimes. And then the stuff he's done with the Epstein victims and some of the other stuff he's done. You know, Trump is selfish and narcissistic, which anybody who's narcissistic is mean because they're self-centered and they don't see other people as people. And so, you know, for Trump to say that he's any different than Joe Biden, I can't say who is meaner, but Trump is doing more damage. That's going to hurt more people in the environment and these things. You know, Trump is just a piece of shit. And so it's just so utterly clueless because it seems like he really believes what he's saying there. And he just doesn't fucking get it, right? The way that he talks about the Jeffrey Epstein victims and the way that he thinks about those people, you know, they're just, you know, people to be owned. You know, Jeffrey Epstein poaching his employees like they were his own, his property. You know, these people who just see themselves as on a higher level than other people. And if you are on a higher level, when I gave that what I consider like kind of an epic talk about good and evil, you know, that good people don't try to kill evil people. Like good isn't supposed to kill evil. That's not what good works. You know, godly people aren't supposed to kill devil-worshipping people. They're supposed to bring them up. And if you have the good fortune of being on a higher level than other people, then it's your job to help elevate those people. If you're a truly good person, You're here to elevate people and not kill them, right? If you have to, if you're ordered by God or something like this. But this is not what's going on now, because the Republicans and the Democrats and the left and the right, they're all the same evil fucking people, because they're all narcissistic and egotistical, and they're going against God's will. And if they were to come in contact with the truth about what they should do, they would rebel against it, because they already have. Because everybody has divinity in them, and people make those choices not to do what God wants them to do. And so, this is, you're in dangerous territory when people start believing that they're the good guys when they're really kind of worse than the other side, at least as bad. And they're so, vitriolic about it. Like, it's just, it's hard to, they're myopic in their ability to see reality, and they think they're just all doing great, and they just keep on patting themselves on the back and talking about how great they do when they're failing over and over again. So this is 1992. This is 10 years before Trump would endorse Jeffrey Epstein in that article about the man of mystery, right? Money man of mystery. And 11 years before he would send him that birthday message.
Donald Trump is the Hugh Hefner of the 90s.
In the 1990s, Donald Trump was building a reputation for himself as a ladies' man.
For an older person, he's very attractive.
He may be the most eligible bachelor in America.
Boom.
Please welcome Donald Trump.
Gone were the days when he was known primarily as the real estate mogul of New York.
Remember the 80s? The yuppies, the buyouts, the junk bonds, and especially the Donald.
The man who was the darling of the 80s is seen in the 90s as a man in trouble, and he knows it.
The drama started
a fake picture
when Donald began cheating on his wife, Ivana Trump, with aspiring actress Marla Maples. After an ugly public falling out, Donald and Ivana divorced in 1992, with some reports that Ivana got millions from the split.
Donald Trump's former or current girlfriend, depending on what day it is sharing all her secrets for staying in shape.
Donald eventually married Marla 2 months after she gave birth to a baby girl. But by the end of the
daughter he doesn't like her, she's, seen by him as ugly.
Decade, Trump was single again, and he seemed to enjoy the dating scene.
The reputation of Donald Trump, the man who dates a different woman every year.
I don't do that. I mean, I've been with a number of women, but it's been over a fairly long period of time. I've had great relationships with women.
If you could have your choice, who would be the one person you'd date?
Wow.
Who are the three most beautiful women in the world?
Well, how about Lady Di? That would be an interesting one. She's going to be available for me.
What kind of woman
not
do
my
you
choice.
like?
I think my choice might be you. Look at the legs on her. Boy. Could be you.
Can you imagine how controversial I'd be? You think about Clinton with the women. How about me with the women? Can you imagine?
Well, I mean, I think there is a certain controversy to me, and I am single, and I do go out with women.
While his family life may have been on the rocks, his business empire was crumbling.
The headline was quite accurate. Welcome to the 90s, Donald. Because it was like he got whacked right in the face. It was amazing.
Trump opened his third casino in Atlantic City in April 1990.
Lasers, fireworks, and miles of neon lights provided the color as Trump opened the Taj Mahal Casino Hotel in Atlantic City.
But just months after it opened, the Taj Mahal missed one of its debt payments, and Trump began looking for a bailout.
His empire could be at risk of collapse if the New Jersey Casino Commission decides not to approve Trump's bailout plan.
By the fall of 1991, all 3 casinos had filed for bankruptcy.
The Jersey Casino Control Commission has unanimously approved Donald Trump's bailout plan. That plan allows him to use his 3 Atlantic City casinos as collateral for his $65 million loan.
In order to finance a loan, Trump was forced to sell off his airline, his yacht, and a chunk of one of his earliest projects, the Grand Hyatt Hotel in Manhattan.
You know, I had a wife who was suing me for $2 billion. I had the banks, I had this, I had that.
He did get to keep one asset.
The wife that claimed that he raped her in the, in the documentation.
Undeveloped piece of land on Manhattan's west side that Trump had purchased in 1985. Trump had envisioned a huge project on the site, but in 1994, the real estate market fell, leaving Trump unable to make payments on the land. So Trump sold off the lots and made a deal where he got to keep some of the profits from any future development, and to put his name on a few of the buildings. marking a new chapter in which Trump was less of a developer and more of a brand.
Who knows better about hard times than me? I had a company, it was doing well, I had tremendous debt like this country, and in 1990, the whole country, it just went very, very bad.
As his finances...
So he's trying to say that because he went bankrupt so many times, he's the master at getting out of debt, right? Trump is, to his credit, he's like a rat that just keeps on fucking jumping from one sinking ship to another. And he's able to survive. But the ships all sink, right?
Stabilized, Trump began to reclaim his status in the public psyche with publicity stunts like a 1995 Pizza Hut commercial in which he appeared with Ivana Trump.
Doing Ivana.
What will people think?
It's wrong, isn't it?
But it feels so right.
Then it's a deal?
By the end of the decade, he was once again sounding like the Trump of the 80s, talking big about his finances.
Rudy Giuliani. Him and Rudy.
Back in the 1990s, you owed something like $900 million. Your empire was pretty
much more than that.
You owed more than that?
975 was personally guaranteed. That was just the small part. That was the harder debt. But I owed many, many billions of dollars. And now my company is much bigger and stronger than it was in the 80s.
And flirting with a presidential run.
Businessman Donald Trump tells Meet the Press that tomorrow he, Trump, is also leaving the Republican Party to join the Reform Party.
He's considered the largest developer in New York.
In 1999, Trump was on the verge of doing something that he had only hinted at in the 80s. He was about to decide whether he could really run for the White House.
Running mate. If you decide to go with this, who would be the ideal running mate for Donald Trump?
Oh, I think Oprah would be great.
Boom. Oprah.
Seriously.
I think that probably that would be serious, actually.
Boom. So, he was a playboy. Donald Trump's always been a piece of shit, but like he was, entertaining one. Like he's more likable as a demon than other demons, right? But, he has gotten worse like all demons over the years. And now he's gone full demon. Like it doesn't, whatever charm was there, whatever charisma he had, whatever stuff that he had, it eventually evaporates and turns into full demon. And then all of his bullshit, like all of his, his relationship with Epstein and all the shit that he did, all the stuff he did on the beauty pageants, all the things that he said to show you what a piece of shit he was. The grab him by the pussy, the going into the dressing room of the girls, the hiring the 15-year-old girl, 16-year-old girl, and saying that he was it's like being an alcoholic, being around alcohol. I mean, all the things that he said that incriminated him, and then his relationship with Israel and all the other bullshit that he's done. And, the people who like Donald Trump, the Trump passionate people, they're still behind him, see him as some kind of reincarnation of Jesus. In fact, they were saying shit like that. When the guy is the fucking demon, right? I want to comment I want to get to here. So I got a few short videos of Don Lemon's that I was going to show today they're going to, other than Mike Johnson telling Democratic officials to let the troops in, which I'll get to first thing tomorrow. He talks a little bit about Israel's illegal bombing of Yemen. But this is too great to pass up. So he's got this thing here. And I'll get to the other stuff tomorrow. Okay. Okay, I'll itch my neck because that makes me... Oh, what a thinker. I point to my thinking thing. That's where the thinking happens. Look, I got my neck. Point to my thinker. That's my thing. That's where I have my thoughts, right in there. And so, like, he doesn't realize, because when they did this, he now has the head of Trump's body. He's now the head of Trump's body here. I mean, his stuff is just platinum. So there's two more videos, and I'm sure there's other stuff there. I have to go through it because he's just comedy gold. But hopefully there'll be more of this stuff that I'll have to cover. And I want to cover it, the fallout from this thing. Trump will probably come out and lie about it. The Republicans' official position is this is fake. And the reason they can say that is the WWE shit that I said, that Americans just want to believe whatever their group believes. And the people that they trust tell them what to think. And so they'll just say, all right, it's fake. Or they'll just say, okay, I'll dismiss this. But there should be no Trumpers at this point. The martial law is the worst thing. The support for Israel, the fucking tariffs, which are going to cause catastrophic effects, the big, beautiful bill. I mean, there should be no Trumpers. Right now, Trump should have no support for the American people. Like, everybody should be like, you know, the least the Democrats, if Joe Biden did all this shit to his own people, because this stuff goes against, you know, the Republican principles. And now, of course, the Epstein thing, it's out. It's all there. The fucking Trump's a complete piece of shit. Like, across the board, he checks every box. The Democrats would bail on their guy if he had all this shit. They started bail on him when they finally admitted he was senile. I mean, Democrats couldn't wait to bail on him. Maybe a little bit less with Obama, but still, they would have turned on him. And the fucking Trumpers just won't turn on him because they're the worst in terms of their delusion about their guy. Anyways, this fucking mastermind. There's my thinker. All right, let's get over to the voice. Let's go to the voiceover here. Okay, so from the last video that I did, well, here, I want to get this as one comment. There's a comment I want to get to about Jesus. That is the, you know, wherever that is. But somebody wrote me a comment in which they said, here it is. This is for everyone to kind of know. This might be interesting to you. Many YouTube channels are witnessing a significant decrease of their views, and I was speaking out. The cause of this seems to be a silently implanted change in YouTube called restricted mode. Just search the term and you will find videos talking about this. What I did find, and I didn't do much research into it, this was a helpful comment though, that there is a thing that I found on my phone, a video that says you can turn off restricted mode. And you guys all might want to consider that. I don't know what restricted mode is, but that, you know, is definitely some sort of form of censorship. And so YouTube is choosing, if you know, there's a, you know, I found a short video that tells you how to turn it off. You go to like settings and then you go to general, and in your phone, I couldn't find it on the, how you turn it off in a browser. And so, but I think I've turned it off for my whole channel. You know, when I'm looking for videos, it's not going to restrict things. You know, it's not going to censor things. At least, you know, I mean, some of the censorship they're doing. So, you know, YouTube is such a piece of shit place now. You know, in that video, I talked about how I got screwed out of $1,800 from this, you know, from Teespring, or now Spring, this company. You know, and I don't know if I made it clear in that, but right now, like, I'm in a chat where if I say anything to them, they send me an email of what I said in the chat, but they never respond. So, like, I can't get out of that chat and start a new one and actually talk to somebody. So they've effectively blocked me from communicating with them. And I did the same thing with YouTube and chatted about it. And they were trying to find a way to just end the chat because YouTube doesn't want to talk about this. And, you know, they have a relationship with a company that is taking advantage of viewers and creators, the people that make YouTube what it is. Like, without creators, YouTube is nothing, right? And, you know, YouTube wants you to merch up, but they have a predatory partner. And they are, you know, they're well aware of the partner, you know, being sued and fucking screwing people over. And they're not willing to do anything about it. And they are hiding videos exposing it, right? And so, you know, YouTube is, I mean, you know, Google and YouTube have gotten so evil. You know, remember, don't be evil. But, like, it's just, you know, it's how all these things end. You know, the companies can only get more evil, right? You know, to be financially profitable and to be, you know, a part of the club, you have to go and do evil shit. Like, that's just how it is. You know, the deeper you get into the success end of the, you know, the world, especially in politics and business, you know, mainstream business and this stuff, tech companies, you know, there's a lot of power in social media. And so they have to, you know, be won over to the evil side because the truth came out, you know, all this stuff would, you know, implode. And so many people, I like I said, I hadn't gone through the comments for 5 days, which is weird for me. And I was scrolling back through them, and so many comments, people said they didn't see a hype button. They're excluded. Now, this is a beta tested thing, but it's like with anything with YouTube. I mean, I haven't seen, there seemed to be a decline in some of my videos that were hyped, which would be, totally like what YouTube would do. But, it seems like it bounced back to what it was. And so I don't know if there's anything there with the hype button when it comes back out. But, I've been aware of this for a while, that, YouTube is completely rigged against me and people like me. And, it's not going to come back. Like, there has to be some other way for my channel to grow, or I have to go somewhere else. But, right now I'm making half the money I'm making is from viewer donations. So, I mean, it's getting to the point where the ads aren't even a realistic, aren't a financially viable thing. But, when there's something that's cool and new and innovative, whatever it might be, it just gets wrecked by the people that fucking get there late. Like the people that are there in the beginning, the visionary people, the people who are, understand this. My wife and I were talking about my video about WWE, and my wife was saying, it's like people just don't know how to react anymore. They don't know how to emote. They don't know what their emotions are. They don't know what they should be feeling or thinking. That's what I was, saying in the video as well, but she said in a different way, that people are just looking to be told how to feel and what to think. And, that's, people don't, and they're all just, well, we're the other guy's doing it, like I said in the video. They look at the left to the right to see how to react to something. Oh, John Cena's now a villain. He's a heel. All right, boo. And then they get into the reaction of the crowd, and they just want to be part of a crowd. They just want to be part of a mob. And so, when you're in those situations, when you're doing this type of, you're making these type of choices to make everything about staying in aligned with what the other people in your group believe. I talked about that QB guy, QAnon guy, who realized that they were always moving the goalposts and so many things turned out to be bullshit. And he was in a chat with a bunch of childhood friends who knew him forever. And he realized that Q was bullshit. And he came out and said it, and then all his friends turned on him and said he was a government shill. He's like, you knew me for, like, what do you think I was placed in your friend group? I was told to make friends with you as a government shill, so someday they could come out against QAnon. Like, it's just stupid, right? But that's how, everything becomes about protecting the group and the group dynamics and the thoughts from the group. And so when you get to that point, then nothing's about truth anymore. It's just about keeping your belief system and, your side, your people. Like when, you're a bunch of like white people and it came down to racism and slavery, and, they have to justify the maltreatment of African American people, right? Like, when the slave things, like, there's a documentary that I saw about Alabama, where it's just, even now it's, it's worse there, the sort of racial tensions. And there was all these black people working in white homes. And when the black people started to protest, all the white people's feelings were hurt because they thought the black people liked working for them. They were part of their family, right? They had, they felt affection for them. And when they said, hey, we don't really like doing this kind of work, we actually want to, not be, servants, we want to be more than that, they were upset. They were hurt. If their feelings were hurt. Like, you guys don't want to do this for us, right? You guys don't want to, wipe our babies' asses and, fucking cook our food and shit. And so, there's people will rearrange reality to fit their feelings, change the facts to fit their feelings is a very common thing. That's what people do, right? Confirmation bias. I saw it in Sahaj Mark, the meditation I do. And this guy, Master Charji, was just, he was a human being, like Jesus was a human being, right? Like, everybody who's a spiritual person also has a human side and has an ego. And so you're going to have their moments of of, human behavior. But as a spiritual person, if you reach a high level of spirituality, you just radiate all of the, energy, and you just make great decisions, and you're just, it's hard to describe when you meet somebody who's on a different level. And this guy, Daji Kamlesh, was a good preceptor and someone devoted to the system. And he was, a higher developed person in the system. And he clearly had been moved along, and he, somebody I liked and had respect for. But something changed. Like, he fell. And he fell badly. And it was very obvious. I mean, it was hard for us, all of us who, this system is, is just a cornerstone to our existence. But, doing what I do here and just being somebody who thinks about things like this, I couldn't deny what has happened to Daji. It took me a while to really understand it, because I had these other experiences. And he was clearly the choice to succeed Charji, the third master. But when he fell, he fell. And when all these people who are in denial about it, and many of them, they know he's a piece of shit, but they still are doing the system because they don't know what else to do, right? And they just find ways of rearranging a reality to justify not wanting to change. And that's what this is about. And so when you get new information, or you've changed in your ability to decipher information, like, I'm going to read this Christian comment now. When you get new information, then what do you do with it, right? Like, just, again, you don't have to accept it. You don't have to take my word for it, or whoever's giving you the information's word for it. But this person writes, God's word is as sharp as a double-edged sword, able to discern between that which is spirit and that which is soul. God created man from the clay, or in other words, the earth. Moreover, he created from the same carbon-based elements the rest of our beings on earth are created from as well. He then breathed into him breath of life or spirit. Man then became a soul, physical body brought to life, animated by being given a living spirit, body, spirit, and soul. I hope this clears up any misconceptions. Spirit and soul are two different things. A human soul is the sum of the entire being. The spirit is the life-giving component. Now, this person isn't being a dick, and somebody wrote about me commenting, and I wasn't originally going to comment to this. Somebody wrote to this person, I'd like to hear Paul's comment, and I'm not, this is not somebody being like a shitty Christian, just being a piece of shit that's, whatever. This person sincerely believes in the Bible, but the fact is that the Bible has been edited, and you start with the Old Testament, which is full of a lot of things, right, bad things. And it was written for the consciousness at that time. And so there's a lot of things in there that are proven wrong just by the fact that people know more things now in terms of the advancement of science, real science. And, just in terms of, like, the world's not flat, right, or these things, because of time zones and other things. Like, back then, people believed that the sun and the moon revolved around the earth vertically, right? That when it was nighttime, the sun was under the earth. And it was daytime, it was the sun coming around a flat earth. But, when time zones came in, they had to change it to the mobile model, where the earth and the moon and the sun were spinning around the earth, a flat earth, horizontally and not vertically, right? And so, people tried to rearrange it, and then they had to, well, where's the firmament, right? These things. Of course, then they're like, well, NASA lies, which it does. And so it became easy to just dismiss science because of NASA's bullshit. Same thing with Trump, right? But in reality, the stuff in the Bible is very remedial. A lot of it's just flat out wrong. The Jewish religion, they were talking about a demon and not God. That's a demon they're describing in the Old Testament. And so Jesus came in and said, well, this is all bullshit, because he went to India and he found, he did some yoga, he did a form of yoga, and he came out with a more sophisticated teaching. Because, the idea of the knowledge of the soul was discovered in ancient India, right? When human beings became conscious of having a soul, right? So you think about animal life, they don't know they have a soul. And animals do have a soul. And plant life does have a spirit, but they're not conscious of it, right? And it's more integrated in their system on an instinctual basis. But they don't have that kind of ability for abstract thought to realize that they have a soul that comes in and animates the body. And so that was discovered in ancient India, thousands and thousands of years ago, somewhere between 100 and 200,000 years ago. And they have all these sophisticated teachings about the Atman, the soul. That was the original name of the soul, which was the Atman. My brother believed that computer chips came from aliens, and he used to say this thing, back when he was, an old school truther. Who invented the light bulb? And you say Thomas Edison, right? So he would go through these various, like who discovered electricity? Benjamin Franklin. And, again, electricity had been around a long time ago before, but whatever, you get the idea. People know who invented things. They said who invented the computer chip, and nobody knows, right? So it was reverse engineered. That was his thinking. But who discovered the soul? And you were like, well, I don't know. And, well, maybe it came from Judaism. Well, it didn't. Like, just because you think that's the beginning of your religion began in India. Your religion, all religions began in India. The idea that the soul was, that there's a soul, this idea came from there. And what they understood, what there was future and past lives. And there's a financial incentive for Christians, a control to not believe in past lives. The Christian religion gets a hold of you because if you're either going to heaven or hell, and they're the gatekeepers between heaven and hell, they got fucking complete religious power over you. Because you're going to hell if you don't accept them and accept Jesus. And they're the ones who speak for Jesus. And so, it's very easy to understand that. Like, you've been fucked. You've been conned, right? And so then when you hear this information, what do you do with it? Like, what does that mean for you? Like, as a person who follows a religion. And, I've always said, if you're going to connect to Jesus, you connect directly, because the religions are pieces of shit that are manipulating his teachings, distorting his, whatever it is, his whatever, his not just his teachings, but everything, like his movement. And so, they're not friends of Jesus, they're enemies. They've hijacked his work and his essence, and they have trademarked it to be something that benefits them and hurts you spiritually and financially and mentally and every possible way. That's what religions do. Religions are the worst of the worst because they misrepresent God, right? They trademark God. They become gatekeepers between you and God. And they distort whatever kind of, whatever teachings and whatever truths there are in spirituality so that they can control you. And so the idea that you have future lives and past lives and these things, and you can even see it in your own life. Like, I believe I've had like 4 lives. I mean, more so if you think about being a kid. And when you're a child, you have a life as a baby, you have a life as a toddler, you have a life as a kid, you have a life as a pre-adolescent, you have a life as a teenager, and you have a life as a young adult in your 20s, and then like a married adult when you're in your 30s and 40s. And these are all different phases in your life, and you're a different person. You look back and you're like, you think about, what you were as a kid, and you're like, I don't even understand my decision-making process, right? Because you have different, stages, and you can see that. Like, it's the same, part of the same story, but you're a different person. And there's events that change your life as well. The person that you were before the event and after the event. And there's significant things in your life that happen for everybody. And so, like, it's a new life begins when something changes you so dramatically that you're a different person, quite a different person than you were before. And that's only in one fucking life. Think about a series of lives. And so reincarnation was the spiritual truth that came with the people that brought in this information about human beings having a soul. And it was erased by various religions and specifically Christianity. And so all this other bullshit that you read is a way to explain away the stuff that, it should be there for everyone to see. So let me reread this comment here. So somehow it's got here. This was a video called Irrefutable Proof That Idiocracy is Upon Us. God's word is as sharp as a double-edged sword, able to discern between that which is spirit and that which is soul. You know, what I want to say here, first of all, you can ask God questions and God will tell you directly. And it's your ability to be pure in your internal world and be open to whatever God wants to say or whatever the truth is that God is going to tell you. That makes, you know, that's the difference between, it isn't, you know, God's truth is always the same. If you ask God a question, God will give you the answer. But can you hear that answer? And if you've got some bullshit religion that's distorted your reality and some groups that you belong to that you want to hear shit about, or Donald Trump that you don't want, you know, if God told you the truth about Donald Trump, you can't handle it. You know, if you can't handle the truth, then, you know, well, then what can God do, right? And so God's word is a sharp and double-edged sword, able to discern between that which is spirit and that which is soul. I believe that's a quote from the Bible because it's in quotes. You know, you don't need the Bible to tell you God's word because God is there within everything and everybody. Because this person said, God created man from clay, or in other words, the earth, moreover, created man from the same carbon-based elements that the rest of the things on earth are created from as well. He then breathed into him the breath of life or spirit. So if that, you know, I mean, that's an immature way of looking at it, but if God did that, now he's saying he's creating the spirit in the moment, which isn't true. Your soul was created at the beginning of creation because now your soul's eternal. So, but if you say, all right, your soul is now eternal, then you have God in you. Like God's created that pure spirit, that soul that's inside of you. And so why wouldn't you form a relationship with your soul instead of listen to some bullshit book that's been distorted and been manipulated, and some bullshit religion that's proven over and over again that they are for themselves and not for Jesus. They are for their own religious power. You can connect to God directly then, right? And then why would you be just a sinner? If you have this divine essence inside of you, you have divinity inside of you. So why not find that divinity within inside of you? Instead of reading some fucking externalized version of God that doesn't make any sense from a biblical standpoint, from a book that, again, is just a way to control people. You have the ability to connect with this divinity within you. And now you haven't heard that because your religion doesn't allow people like me to say stuff like that because, it's bad for their business, right? So, but you're hearing it here. And wouldn't you think about that? Like, why don't I form a relationship with my soul? You then breathed into him the breath of a spirit. Man then became a soul, physical body brought to life, animated by a living spirit, body, spirit, soul. I hope this clears up any misconception. Spirit and soul are two different things. A human soul is the sum of the entire being. The spirit is the life-giving component. That would be the subtle bodies in ancient yogic teaching, which are much more sophisticated. There's these various subtle bodies that make up your mind, your manas, your chit consciousness, right? Your ankar or ego. And so you have these different things that are there that are, making up these fields of energy, these fields of human creation that are the spiritual aspect of your perception, your consciousness. You have these subtle bodies that are, you have your soul, which is the causal body, and your soul doesn't have a mind. Your soul doesn't think thoughts. Your soul is pure essence of God, and that's, the life that's created. And then you have these fields, these energetic fields that are more gross, in terms of their ability to manifest something in a physical form. And so, that's a much more sophisticated understanding than what this person's saying. And so they have some stuff in here that's kind of like the truth. But once you think about that, then you do have God inside of you. And you aren't born just a sinner. You have a soul, but you also have an ego. And then you have to figure out, how to manage that balance between the essence that's pure and the spiritual essence and your ego that keeps you alive and has self-preservation and all these other things. It has the part of you that's an individual. Your soul is a collective. Your soul is connected to the whole, and your ego is individualistic. So you have to balance both those elements. You have to reconcile them. They have to, work in symbiosis. They have to work in, some level of congruency between the life of the ego and the life of the soul. One's a potential demon, the other's a potential saint. But they have to work together. You need the ego. It's a part of your existence, but your ego has to submit to the soul and to your higher nature. The ego recognizing that there's a bigger part of your life that's beyond this one physical life, this one person that you are. It's a chain of evolutionary steps on a spiritual level. And that shit's not in the Bible because it's not, it just isn't. They don't want you to know that stuff. Like the Bible's very remedial, right? Jesus was just a person that rose up to a higher level of spiritual development, which is great. He didn't make it the whole way. Like he was just, he took one step up on the rung of the spiritual ladder. But that's, more than the majority of people do. So I'm not, criticizing him, but he was just, a person that's still on his own spiritual path, and he imparted teachings to other people because he rose up to a higher level, which is what you're supposed to do. And then they hijacked this, religion, hijacked this story, and made up a bunch of bullshit things, which now has caused so much damage to, all of humanity. Historically and politically, in every way that we've seen the world, and it's keeping people from knowing things and evolving in a way. Jesus is teaching the kingdom of heaven is within. Why not focus on that and not this bullshit John 3:16 about getting into heaven? The way to the Father is through the Son, this whole bullshit thing. We're all children of God. The way to heaven is inside of you. The heaven is inside of you. There's no heaven, there's no promised paradise, materialistic paradise where everything's pleasure. That doesn't exist. Only more work, you get the blessing to do more work and do more service to God. But people don't want to serve God. They don't want to give to God. Your ego doesn't want to give up its control, so it looks for a better deal. And religious charlatans will promise you a better deal where you can retain your egotistical pursuits and still think that you're right with God. And that's the biggest problem. That's what's happened to humanity, that you can't do that, that you have to give up your ability to choose the wrong thing, your wanting to choose to make bad decisions. And everyone wants to fight for the right to party and make bad decisions that they know are wrong for them. And when people tell them that they're wrong for them, they kill them. That's why so many Christian saints have died, because when they start telling you what's wrong about what you can and cannot do, and you know it to be true, but you don't want it to be true. And that's why humans have suffered, because people are predisposed, have this tendency to go low, to want to and do the wrong thing, to choose badly. People just like to choose badly. And you see it, on a regular basis here in your own life, and then certainly with everybody else. They want to do what they want to do despite what God wants them to do, despite what their soul wants them to do. And it might start off innocently at first, but then at the end of it, it becomes full-out demonic behavior, depraved behavior. And we're all, subject to more of that because we live in egotistical times. We live in the time of the ego, time of egoism. This is a time where people are more prone to their egos and more prone to wanting to do what their ego wants to do. And so that has to change, or we're fucked. Like it's, people have to give up their ability to choose to do the wrong thing. And, I can say this all day to everybody in the world, and it would just fall on deaf ears. Because, like I said, people want to do what they want to do, so they don't want to hear this shit, right? They don't want to, within yourself, like you have decisions, like let's say that that you're overweight, right? You know it's causing you health issues. Something that you're doing, gambling or drinking or whatever, is bad for you, right? Like we all have some things like that. We all go through things during our day where we're making choices of things that we know are bad for us, and we do them anyway. And those choices are going to play out a certain way. You're smoking cigarettes, you're going to get lung cancer. You're eating carcinogens, you're going to get cancer. You're eating things that cause heart disease, you're going to get heart disease, right? You know the side effects that are given by these medications, and that you potentially can get those, but you take them anyway, right? You do things where you know that your choices right now are going to screw you over in the future. you make bad decisions. You cheat on your spouse. You gamble away money. You make bad health choices. At some level those choices are going to cause problems later on, but you don't care about it. You're fucking yourself over in the future. You're screwing some future version of yourself over. And you don't want to hear it from other people or your soul or any of the other things, because you do what you want to do what we want to do. And that, that is a plague that humanity right now that's causing all these issues. Like, it's just there for everyone to see. But you can always pray to God and ask for the answer. You just got to also pray that you are able to be strong enough to accept the answer. The truth that God gives you is very often not something that you can hear. And so you're being told all the time the truth. The truth is right in front of you. For every person, the truth is right there, and people just reject it because they don't want it to be the truth. And that's the problem with human beings right now. And so either that's going to change or we're going to be eradicated from the planet. It's like one or two things going to happen. Either people will be better at accepting the truth and be better at being disciplined and not indulging in things that are bad for them and that are wrong and that goes against God's will. Or we won't. And, if we do the first thing, if we embrace the truth, we embrace the divinity within us, then we will evolve to a higher level. And we'll be, a valid species that is moving in the right direction. But if we continue going in a de-evolutionary way, in an idiocracy type way, where we're going in the wrong direction, then we become, going away from our potential that, God wants us to realize within ourselves. I mean, it's part of every creature's, you need to be moving forward. If you're moving backwards, inevitably, you've taken off the playing field, right? You're no longer, you're no longer a willing participant in God's creation. And that's where we are now. Only spirituality will save this world. This Paul Romano definitely points to the apocalypse and the ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.